Welcome to the Skyline family of companies construction COVID-19 informational series. This is installment 1, our pre-construction edition. I am Andy McGregor, the president of Ascend Construction in Chicago.
And I'm Matt Slay, and I'm the director of pre-construction and estimating for Skyline Construction based in the San Francisco Bay Area.
And together we are the pre-construction dynamic duo of the Skyline family of companies. All right, so we want to cover a few things today. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that you have questions about regarding COVID-19 and construction. At a high level, we're going to cover supply chain issues, schedules and timing, the overview of the subcontractor infrastructure cost, and how to plan for success.
So as we talk about the supply chain, as everyone could probably imagine, as they're dealing with in their own personal and professional lives, supply chains have been completely disrupted due to the global events. So a couple things that we want to consider when we're looking at future work and future implementation of projects is there is no one-stop solution. Everyone needs to be flexible. The teams need to be communicating and talking to each other and giving each other information so that each of the different supply chain implications can be done on a project by project basis.
Yeah, everything is highly unpredictable, so you really have to get into project level detail, and you're better off working bottom up, noticing trends from specific items on jobs rather than trying to apply some blanket rule that you've learned about the supply chain from somewhere else. And it has to be monitored on an almost daily basis because things are changing fast. So overall, there's a lot of stuff that's impacted, and you really need to pay attention to not only where items are manufactured, but how the supply chain is affected coming out of those regions, and then where things are assembled. So you might have light fixtures that are assembled in Canada, but they've got parts coming over from China. HVAC systems, same thing. A lot of the components are manufactured over in Asia. They're put together in Mexico. Some stuff assembled in the US. The moral of the story here is you may have things that are being produced in an area that's on total shutdown. You may have things being produced in an area that's on that's open for business, and you may have things coming out of areas where either overseas freight are affected or trucking within the country that would get something from factory to a port has been disrupted. So you really have to get into all those different aspects of your supply chain. The stuff we know has been drastically affected so far is anything coming out of China, and any electronic equipment typically has parts, fasteners, drivers, chips coming from China. Cast iron fittings have all been made in China. It's been outsourced over the last 10 years, and there are factories in the US trying to spool back up. But that's just one example of something that you sort of take for granted. Nobody thinks it's hard to get a cast iron fitting, and then you start thinking about where it's made and what's shifted over time, and it's an issue. Tile and stone, most of that stuff is coming from Italy. Everybody knows Italy has been severely impacted by things. So you have to look at everything, and there's really nothing that's immune.
And the key thing when talking about the supply chains, you also have to talk to your individual product suppliers, because as Andy mentioned, for instance, tile and stone coming out of Italy has been severely impacted, and yet office furniture modular wall systems coming out of Italy, we've been given numerous assurances from multiple manufacturers that their manufacturing capability is still up and fully operational, and that they're able to build the stuff in the same amount of time. However, they are admitting that shipping has been impacted. So you need to talk individually to each of your individual suppliers, as well as talk about their logistical chain on how that product is going to get here. Because just because one thing might not be impacted doesn't mean the next thing isn't.